One,
Now
two.
it's on.
1, 2. There we go.
Yeah, it's on. You know you're getting old if you cannot get up without sounds.
Yeah, exactly. But it could also be because of podcast number 13. 14, I don't even know what
That's true. That's true. And with that, welcome back, dear viewers. I have just recently turned 40. Reggie is already 42.
Yep.
So we're getting old, definitely. Welcome to the Veritas Detailing Real Talk podcast presented by Labo Cosmetica. That's why that guy is here.
What's up, people?
So I hope you listened to the last 2 episodes because then you know that we are still in northern Italy. It's November of 2024. We're trying to do as many podcast episodes as possible for the future of this podcast. And as you can see, we are now almost at the end of the day. It's getting a little bit chilly.
Nippy, so to speak.
Nippy. And that means we will afterwards go inside and be warm and cozy when we continue to do the episodes.
The stove's already on, so pellet stove, very awesome, fully automated. I'm very impressed.
Very awesome. So if you're in Europe or want to come to Europe and looking for a nice place where you can just be for yourself, have complete peace, have no interruptions of any kind, we can recommend this place. It's really, really beautiful.
Absolutely.
Good. Reggie, this week we are going to talk about this
this month, this episode is all about what we're going to talk about.
This episode, not this week. It's still the same 3 days. Dear God, that was bad of me. This episode will be about a topic that not many people, if any, talk about, but which in some instances can be very important to understand, which is that the detailing industry is not as standardized as you may think. And there will be 3 main topics we talk about, which is terminology, which is already not consistently used within the industry.
Yep.
It will be measurement and measurement devices, which are not as standardized as you think, and also products, but much more usage of the products, which are not that standardized. And there's one very recent example, and you know, in this podcast, because it's called Veritas, which is Latin for the truth, we are not afraid of telling names. I had an interesting conversation with Ivan Lacroix. It was based on the presentation of Pandy Organizer's new product line, which is called Clean, and the presentation especially of his shampoo. Because he did a video in which he said, tonally, he said that his shampoo is pH neutral, and he put a pH measurement stripe in the shampoo, said it showed that it is neutral, but if you zoomed in, you could already see that's not really the color of pH neutral there, that it shows it's more like 8 or 9. Then I checked the safety data sheet, and the safety data sheet says clearly 8. And by all means and by all definitions, that's not neutral. Now, I get it. I understand the aspect that once you dilute it, it's probably pH neutral. I can accept that, but that's not what Pan said. He said that the product itself, the concentrate, is pH neutral, which it is not.
Ivan.
No, the thing is, Pan defended that by saying others also do that.
Okay.
DIY Details shampoo, for example, is 8.5 and they call it neutral. I checked that, and indeed, the website says that the DIY Detail, I think it's called Incredible Suds, the website says it's pH neutral. The safety data sheet says it's between 6 and 9, or 10 even, which is already rather irregular that you see such a wide span of pH values in a safety data sheet. That's already a bit funny and fishy, to be honest. I then asked this question in the DIY Detail Facebook group. Guys, what's up there? You say it's pH neutral, but it's actually between 6 and 10. Someone said it's 8.5. What is it? And then Ivan Lacroix, the owner and founder of that, co-owner of that brand, said, yes, it's 8.5, but everything between 6 and 9 is considered to be neutral. And that made me think. That statement made me really think. My post is gone, by the way, by now, because it has been removed. we then asked Giacomo, the lab guy,
Dr. Fama and Dr. Todisco, so I asked two.
Yeah.
And they gave me a very clear statement.
Which is?
7 is neutral. Anything other than 7 is either alkaline or acid. Point.
So there's a very clear, a very strict definition of pH neutrality. Now, if we were talking about 7.2, 6.8, we will not have this discussion. But 8.5 is not in any way, shape or form or on any planet in this galaxy pH neutral. It's just simply not.
No, it would mean that a meter is between 90 and 110 centimeters. That's
exactly.
A meter.
Or how much do you weigh? 100 kilos. It's sometimes 90 to 110. That's all 100 kilos. That's not how measurements, that's not how scientific measurements work. They are very clearly defined. And saying that between 6 and 9 is neutral is just, I'm sorry, Ivan, it's factually wrong.
I can imagine that the performance, because the logarithmic scale is exponential, that in the beginning the curve is very low. So in performance-wise or in ionic-wise, they are not very much different from the beginning of the 7 to either 6 or to 7.
By the way, we will have an episode where we talk about pH values in very detail, but yes, I get you.
Yeah, so in the beginning, so in performance-wise, they will not be different very much. So in that range for performance, he is right. But he says that no, 6 and 9 is neutral. That is absolutely a lie. Beyond recognition, proving once again.
If we take just that statement, 6 to 9 is neutral, that's factually wrong.
Yeah, please.
And that gave us the idea for this episode that the detailing industry is not as standardized as you think. And we start with exactly that terminology. Because if we don't look at stuff and terms which is scientifically defined, like the pH value, like maybe also gloss, there are terms which are not consistently used within the industry. And one example I came up with is snow foam. What does snow foam actually mean?
Yeah, snow foam, what does it mean?
Because for some people, a snow foam has to be pH neutral. But who says that?
Where does it say that?
There are also alkaline ones, there are also acidic ones in the meantime. For some people, a snow foam has to foam. But there are snow foams out there which don't actually foam that much and are much more like a pre-clean or pre-wash.
Yeah.
And that already tells you everything you need to know. Let's talk about the term wax. What does wax mean in today's market? Nothing, absolutely nothing.
How about ceramic?
How about ceramic?
Ceramic spray, ceramic detailer, ceramic shampoo and ceramic coating.
Graphene.
Graphene, Bodophene.
There are so many buzzwords in this industry. It's absolutely amazing. And there is no governing body. There is no organization. No one has defined what all of these terms mean in the industry. And even if we, as an industry or as a market or as a scene, came up with a, let's say, largely accepted definition of something, there is no governing body which would enforce this definition. So a brand can just go ahead and call their product one thing where everyone else would think, no, that's not really it.
No. As long as you're free to do so and not get in jail or in front of a firing squad, you can say whatever you want.
Exactly.
You can throw stuff out there and without any responsibility behind anything.
You know what another good example is? I call it a fiasco you had with Fiero.
Yes.
That's a nice term. The Fiero
that is
fiasco.
A very good one. That is true.
Fiero fiasco.
So, what Fiero, and it is also because in the beginning we already knew what the product was able to do, and then we wanted to do Fiero's the finishing polish, and there was the choice of the word on there. Now, in any other industry other than the detail industry, priming means preparation or priming the surface for what is going to follow up next. Priming for clear coat, priming for coating. But in the detailing industry, because these primer products turn out to be sort of a filling preparation products that need to be hardened out or need to fill something or stay a certain amount on the time, generating another result other than the absolute truth. So they became these filling products. So priming became filling in the detailing industry, although in any other industry it's preparation for the surface. So that question arises to people seeing that word, then asking me the questions, how long after the application of Fiero do I have to wait before I can put on the ceramic coating? And I said immediately. But it's a primer. I said, yes, you're already after the priming. And that is a completely different approach than the existing culture at that moment that priming was filling or preparing or enhancing or layering or whatever. And that turned then into the truth again when we were using Fiero as the actual thing, the preparation or the primer of the coating. Not leaving something behind in the form that it changes the result, but something in the form that it adheres to coating apparently better or theoretically better. Because, of course, for me, the surface tension reduction...
I still need to test that, but yeah.
Yeah, for me, the surface tension reduction is something that is very easy. So the suede has less grip on the surface. That's nice. And the flash is mostly better visible. Rainbows become very visible. Droplets, bleeding, sweating becomes very visible. But for the rest, it's just a fantastic finishing polish that is capable to take on Veritas and not change the result of the finish. And just making a bare, naked substrate.
By the way, which cannot be said about any spray polish out there.
No, spray polish is a new category. It's a new category of polish.
Yep. Let's talk about that in another episode.
Yes, this is going to be. I have already headaches from that product.
So, terminology, that's already not as standardized as you think, because a quick detailer can be one thing for one person, and it can be a completely different thing for another person. That's actually the best example I can think of. Quick detailer. What does quick detailer in today's market actually mean?
Also a very good one.
Nothing, absolutely nothing. Because originally, thinking back 20 years, the Meguiar's quick detailer, what it does was remove fingerprints and dust at car shows. That's it.
Yeah.
It did, what it needed to do was clean.
Your first aid with
That's it. It needed
very low
to
issue.
clean. And then it became a thing that it also needed to add gloss. And then it needed to add slickness. And then people started to confuse quick detailers with spray sealants or spray waxes. So they also needed to have beading, and then they needed to have durability. There are other visitors in the little village here.
That's the renters.
That's the renters, good.
Yes.
So based on what we as consumers want and expect from a quick detailer, they changed into what I would say in today's market, differentiating between a quick detailer and a spray sealant has become close to impossible.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we have created funny names like Quick Detailer Plus or Enhanced Quick Detailer or Ceramic Detailer to accommodate for that. In today's market, if a product calls itself Quick Detailer, I have absolutely no idea what I should expect from that product.
Not anymore.
No idea.
Not anymore.
Because there's also then funny things like what's the difference between a quick detailer and a drying aid?
Also,
what is it? A spray and rinse product, a rinseless wash, a waterless wash? It's all become blurry.
Very
blurry lines.
Yes,
that's what it has become.
They can do all those things that the original quick detailer back then was also able to do.
Exactly.
The dust prints, the fingerprints, the bug impact at that moment, the bird dropping.
Also potentially much, much more.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's one thing you already have to know and accept. Terminology is not used consistently or standardized in any way, shape or form in this industry. So let's talk about measurement. And the example I always bring up is because that's... I'm still working on that video, but I'm scared to publish that video. It's paint depth gogs. I'm scared to publish that video because I found out about that almost 2 years ago. I'm still working on that video because what I found is, depending on which paint depth gog you're using, you can get differences on the same panel on the same day of up to 70 μ in German. I don't know if μ and microns are exactly the same.
No, micron is 2.54 microns is 1 μ.
Okay, let's 50, 60 microns. That's differences from one paint depth gog to the other.
Yeah.
And that can be the difference in the decision of I'm going to polish or I'm not going to polish a car.
Exactly.
Just by and no one talks about this, no one knows about this. Every one of us expect that a paint depth gog gives you the true reading of the paint. They don't. Believe me, they don't.
No, it's something you cannot rely yourself on.
No, absolutely not. And I'm scared to publish that video because of the potential consequences. Think about a professional detailer polishing a car, measuring it, saying that's safe, he polishes, he goes through the paint, does an insurance claim, and the insurance asks him, which paint depth gog do you use? Yeah, well, this one. and then they go ahead and watch my video and say, that video proves that your paint depth gauge is not reliable, you're paying for that for yourself. That could be one potential consequence of that video. That's why I'm scared to publish it.
But still.
But it needs to be published because paint depth gauges give us a false sense of security.
Yeah, or the other way around, something that is based on nothing. It measures the entirement of the paint. So from the base metal material till the clear coat, the entire. No part of it will tell you how much clear coat there is.
There are ones which can do that, but they are extremely expensive.
Yes, it's not something you would have in your detailer cabinet.
No.
My God.
No.
And if you don't have that thing, you only can do checkups to see if the car's been repainted. So you take some extra care. But dear God, we have done it before 100 years without those things very successfully. So it's not a necessity, definitely not.
Yeah, and it's a false sense of security. Because I think the main issue is the calibration of those tools.
Yeah, I think so too.
A tool is only as good as its calibration, and I actually think the devices themselves are not the issue, but the calibration plates that come with those devices.
Are they actually the measurement that they say they are?
Because depending on what those plates are, what's the English word for Legierung?
Alloy?
The what?
Alloy?
The alloy, what type of alloy plating that they have on those plates. It can be a completely different plating that they have on the car.
True.
And that means that you can calibrate it perfectly with the plates that the manufacturer of the device gives you, but the reading is wrong. What you would have to do is calibrate it on the bare metal sheet of the car. Then they read fine, but that's almost impossible.
Yeah, and what do you do with these paint thickness things on these, let's say, plastic parts? You know, are there plastic parts being used in the industry? Where are the most dangerous parts to polish the car? On the
regular
bumper?
Devices cannot read it. The expensive ones can.
There we go. There we go.
So that is one example where you see measurement devices we as detailers rely on and think they are standardized are actually not standardized at all. And it also accounts for pH meters, because the really, really good ones that you have in your lab, they are very reliable, but they're also very expensive, and they need to go to the calibration, back to the manufacturer once a year, I think Giacomo said.
Yep.
And they calibrate it and they send it back, and that also costs. So those cheaper ones that we can buy on Amazon sometimes are reliable, sometimes they're not.
They give you an indication that it is.
They give you a general direction.
Is an acid or an alkaline.
But then again, I have experienced it myself that the reading can be completely off and wrong. And funnily enough, pretty much any chemist I talked to did say that's true. The yellow stripes that we use, the cheap yellow stripes with the color coding, they're actually more reliable than the cheap meters you can buy, the cheap electronic meters you can buy on Amazon.
I could get behind that, yeah. Sounds like...
Yeah, because I had several cases where someone bought a cheap Amazon pH meter, measured something, it said it was alkaline, the safety data sheet said it should be neutral, and then I said, that person, please go ahead and use a stripe. But the stripe was actually pH neutral. So,
yeah, I see.
Again,
not the truth, but the indication.
Again, not standardized. So that's another issue that we have in this industry. Some things we rely on, we think is a standardized thing, is not.
No, absolutely not.
And that's important in some aspects, that you're aware of the potential outcomes of this. If you go through paint when you thought you had enough on there, could just be the case that it wasn't there from the get-go, because the paint depth gauge that you have is not a good one, or is calibrated the wrong way.
It's an indicator. Don't take it as the truth.
Yep. And then the last thing is products. I mean, it's absolutely obvious for everyone that detailing products are not standardized in any way, shape, or form.
Nope.
But the usage of them is also not standardized.
No.
And that is something that I think many, many detailers, especially professional ones, have difficulties to accept.
That is
because they have
true.
this idea of how an ideal detailing process looks like, and as soon as someone deviates from it, oof.
Yes, and then comes the experience, and then comes I have done this for so many years.
Yep.
And,
Yep. Let's talk about the simplest form of detailing, which is washing the car. Do I start from the bottom or do I start at the roof? Do I do a pre-wash? Don't need to do a pre-wash? Do I go in circular motions or not? Do I use a microfiber mitt or a sponge? Or do I do rinseless? Do I do regular car shampoo? That's already 10 questions with just the washing process. And then it goes ahead, pre-washing, decontamination, polishing. Polishing is the worst thing of all when it comes to no standardization.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Polishing is, you know, all in ones. All in ones are now turning into, you know, why not all in one now? Then all in one is also polishing. Why not, you know?
There are all in ones which have fillers and don't have fillers. The whole filler discussion is also a funny thing, because factually, again, if we look at it from a scientific point of view, every modern polish can act filling.
Yes.
Did I say
you can
that
force
correct?
it. You can force it.
It can
in a way
act
to fill it.
filling
Absolutely.
because we as consumers demand from those polishes that they don't dust, and we have long working cycles. That's what we demand. In order to achieve that, you have to add something. Let's keep it simple. Let's say oils into those polishes to do that, because they attract the dust, they don't give it free. They create those long working cycles because the diminishing abrasives break down.
If they are still diminishing abrasives.
Exactly. Those oils can act filling, and depending on what those oils consist of, they can also be rather hard to remove. A simple IPA, a simple mixture of IPA and water in today's market and world is not enough to reliably remove everything that a modern polish leaves behind.
That is true. We even found out that Veritas is inherent and does nothing on certain types of polishes.
Yep. And Veritas is your panel wipe from Labo Cosmetica, which is very strong and usually very dependable.
Strong enough to take off a Blindo that's 36
which
hours
is
old.
your ceramic coating. Yeah.
Yep.
So every modern polish can act filling. That does not mean that you or other manufacturers include ingredients in there which are intended to fill.
Exactly.
It's a side effect.
It is by
It's a side
misuse.
effect.
The easiest way to start filling with a compound is you're using a short piled microfiber cutting pad,
Yeah.
and the fibers start to clog up. They start to bond together. They become these threads, these dreadlocks.
Yep.
When that happens, you're not polishing anymore. You're rubbing in the compound, literally filling it up. I've experienced it last year on the car of Marco's mother, where I was looking at the result and I was thinking something is wrong. This doesn't looks realistic. And then I started using Veritas, and indeed, it was 60% less good than it looked like. Less correction, a lot of nightmare, and a lot of haze, and a lot of holograms.
And I think in order to be fair to Ivan, because funnily enough, I think there's more that we agree on with Ivan than that we not agree on with him. That's one thing he always says. A lot of things that we do in polishing in today's market and world is not that good for the clear coat or for the car. And that overworking polishes and overworking pads, applying a lot of pressure, can sometimes be counterproductive to what we actually want to do.
Yeah, if you're removing more than is necessary of the defect that you are focusing on.
Absolutely.
And you always attack it with a 3-stage polish, even though a single stage would be enough. Yeah, then you can imagine you are tripling the amount of paint you are removing and then tripling through the clear coat in a very short period of time.
Perfect example. That's what the industry and some manufacturers, and you know that we're not afraid of telling names, Menzerna tried to do for years, 3M also, forcing this 3-step polishing process into our heads. You always have to do the 3-step polishing process. We already did an episode on that this is completely outdated in today's market.
Anymore.
But they forced that on us. You always have to do those 3 steps. And many beginners still fall into that trap. That's an attempt of introducing standardization to a process which is not standardizable.
No.
Because the paint of the cars is not standardized.
Every 2 years you can expect a new type of clear coat on a existing car that has just been, the new BMW 2025 M5 Touring will probably have a different type of clear coat than the 2024.
And there are so many popular examples, and the very experienced detailers among you will know that. black GMC paint. Obviously, I've never actually tried it. If we meet in Miami in February, maybe we both are there, maybe there's a chance that we can try one. Maybe we have to call our contacts, because I want to try it. I want to
flat black
experience
GMC paint.
what black flat GMC paint, why it is so, why are so many detailers afraid of it. I've never experienced it.
Good.
That's a good example.
Good.
When Teslas came out, everyone moaned about Tesla paint being extremely difficult. They still do. Now there's the Tesla Cybertruck with those stainless steel panels. How do you treat them?
Yes.
So there's no standardization or low standardization in the cars that we treat. How can we expect that the process of treating them is standardized in any way, shape or form?
Very true.
And it's the same with any other surface. Plastics are definitely not standardized. There are literally tens of thousands of different plastics used in cars. Interior is different from exterior, and still then it is completely different from one car to the other. Leather is not leather. Depending on what the tanneries do, it is completely different. Glass, screens,
Yeah, it's impossible
chrome,
to generalize.
everything.
And it keeps changing. The real chrome from the old days, steel with chrome,
True.
is now turned into a piece of plastic with a little bit of
A
chrome
tiny
plated.
little bit of chrome plating on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the main message from this podcast, because we always start with a somewhat controversial or critical claim, and then we try to come up with something positive, is standardization is good to some degree because it makes working easier, more predictive, and more dependable. However, don't try to force standardization into an industry which is not standardizable.
Standardized.
Yeah. In some aspects, we have to accept that standardization is not achievable in this industry. Not with the products, not with the terminology, not with our tools or measurement devices.
No. Keep asking questions until you get clear idea of what is being expected, what you want to know. Because keep asking, keep questions. If it's,
And knowledge is key.
that's also true.
Knowledge is key. Try to get training. Try to find reliable sources, because if you know what is happening, if we say with polishing, if you know what is happening on the paint and what the different aspects of it are, how can I affect the results, then you have much less issues understanding what's going on and then coming up with a solution. If you are just following a strict 3-step process and you're having issues with it, you do not know what you have to do in order to get the results that you desire. Knowledge is key.
Absolutely. Keep trying, keep asking questions.
And go to trainings. Reggie is doing trainings for Labo Cosmetica, mainly for the professionals. I am doing trainings for professionals and for end users here in Switzerland and Germany. Sebastian from Detailing School is doing it in Germany. Nico and Marvin are doing it in Germany. Any good sources in the US?
Nick Parks,
Good.
100%.
The Zonex
Guys from
Detailing.
Autoality,
Good.
LI Detail
Zonex
Supply.
Detailing Academy does it worldwide. They have several places, also in the US, also in the UK. The UK Detailing Academy is a good source to go to. So you will find sources and you will find places to get proper training. I think that's one of the most underrated aspects in detailing, because it's an industry where one day you just decide to be a detailer and then you are it the next day.
True.
Training is so important.
Yes, absolutely.
Good. Reggie, I think we have rambled enough about
I think so. We have
standardization, and
a
it's
perfect
getting
shot of the sun disappearing behind the
Wow.
mountain at the end. It's like the guy that's doing the missile launch at the right.
I said it. I said it in the beginning of the podcast. We have probably this one episode with still sun, and we
Yes,
have now
it's
to
turning
go
into
inside.
-4 at this moment. Can immediately feel it.
4 or 5 degrees it was yesterday. Yep. I'm still amazed by the beauty of this place, to be honest.
It's true.
I wish you could be with us to witness it, but maybe one day we will do a live podcast session. So we are doing it here, and people can come and watch us.
Basically, we're going to rent all these houses, all
Ooh,
of them.
that's a good
And
idea.
then we made one studio. One house is going to be the studio,
And then a fireplace, a big fireplace.
In the middle of night, and then you get
That's a good idea. Tell us if that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Write it in the comments. And if you watch the video, thank you for watching. If you have listened to the podcast, then thanks for listening. And we hope that you join us in the next episode. Ciao.
Ciao. Perfect shot.